Everybody, Pastor Nick here with another Linked Couples video for you guys. So glad you can come on as we air our Linked Couples sessions every third Tuesday at 7 p.m. We appreciate you all for coming on. Just coming in to pitch hit, and I hope you guys enjoy this lesson this evening. If you haven't done so, please share. Share as much as you can as we go through some relationship topics to help strengthen marriages, help build relationships up. And we believe that it's going to be a blessing to your life this evening. Again, please share if you can as we going through a particular discussion. Hopefully I can finish it all today. Again, I'm just pinch hitting, filling in, but I'm so glad that you all could join in this evening at 7 p.m. as we go through some topics to help strengthen marriages. So today got a particularly interesting conversation. Going to be quite sensitive at certain moments, but I believe that it's going to be very effective and helpful for your relationships, not just your marriage, but any relationship in general. And we're going to talk about communication and kind of jump into it and how to have effective communication. Now, before we really jump into communication, I need to jump on this topic and we discuss it, which is trust. A lot of people forget that trust is the foundation for everything in a relationship. When the trust is right, the communication is good, the intimacy is better, taking care of children's better, life, all those things are tied to trust. Because where there's established trust, there's openness. When there's established trust, there's a level of openness that is allowed. An individual that struggles to open up has trust issues. Now, if this person is doing wrong, then they'll be afraid of exposure and afraid of opening up. But let me help you something real quick. This is just a little thing here. If you want to be in a position where you don't have to lie, guess what? Don't do something that's going to have to make you lie or to influence you to lie. If I never did the thing, then there'd be no reason for me to lie. I can be completely open. Tell couples all the time, I should trust you enough to give you the passcode to my phone, my emails. You should trust me enough not to have to go searching through it. But that's a good measure of trust. I'm an open book. There's nothing to hide. Here it is. And you trust me enough not to have to go through everything and be paranoid all the time to figure out what's going on in my life. Trust is the opening to everything in relationships. And trust takes years to build up and one moment to destroy. Trust is fragile. Trust is something that's easily broken, and you have to be careful. And here's the thing. Trust is not always broken from a one-time thing. Yes, that does happen a lot, but trust is often broken through a couple of little things here and there, nitpicking. It's like, say we're on a boat together and, if I shoot it with a bazooka, it's going to go right through and, it's going to flood and we all going to drown. But if I take a little pistol and shoot a bunch of small holes, the water is going to come in slower, but eventually the ship is going to go down. Stop doing small things to break trust and wonder why the ship is sinking slowly. It's not always the big stuff. Sometimes it's the small things. But where there is trust, when I build trust, it opens the door to communication. So let's get into this. Communication, right, is this. The goal of every conversation is for understanding, perspective, and meeting common ground. Understanding, perspective, and meeting at a place of common ground. I want you to understand me. I hope to understand you. I see things the way you see them. You see things the way that I see them. And then we meet somewhere on common ground. It's hard to have a conversation with someone that's unwilling to see things your way. You have to learn to see things the other person's way so you can make an informed decision that not only honors you, but also honors your spouse. Because if everything goes my way, eventually my spouse will resent me. But where there's solid communication, I'm seeing things from your perspective, and then we come to a place of meeting, we come to a common ground. It's not always about how I want to see it. It's how does the other person see it, and how can we make this thing work? Remember, marriage is about teamwork. It's not about what's best for the one. It's about what's best for the whole. The next thing I want to tell you is that the burden of communication is on the speaker, not the hearer. The burden of communication is on the speaker, not the hearer. It's our job to be clear. It's not the other person's job to interpret what we mean. It's our job to be clear. It's not the other person's job to interpret what we mean. People say that, well, you should know what I mean. I don't know what you mean. If you don't know what you mean to yourself, how's it going to make sense to me? Or watch this. You always make sense to you. But the reality is, can I bring it in a way that makes sense to the other person? Because we always make sense to ourselves. It's our job to make sure we're making sense, which means we have to analyze, how can I present this to the other person in a way that they can receive it? Some people are auditory learners. Some people are visionary learners. Some people are hands-on learners. You have to know how to present it in a way that makes sense to the person. So during a conversation, ask your spouse, are you sure that's what you mean? Yes. And then repeat back to them, so you're saying this. So you said ... Yes, I said ... Are you mean ... Yes, I mean ... And then watch this. This happens to everybody. You go through the whole process and you say, and then you respond, and they say, well, that's not what I meant. I asked you, did you mean this, this, and this? And they still don't get it. Because why? They want you to understand them. When the reality is this, as the speaker, it's my job to be understood. Imagine me teaching a class, teaching a sermon, and talking way over your head and say, hey, well, it was your job to get it. No, I failed that day because it's my job to make sure that I'm understood. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Because why? The burden of understanding is on the communicator, not on the one receiving the communication. I got to present it in a way that makes sense. Present it in a way that the person can understand. The next thing I want to talk to you about is mastering the art of having hard conversations. Mastering the art of having hard conversations. Difficult conversations can and have to occur, right? But watch this. When there's trust, it's easier to have them. When there's trust, it's easier to have them. Usually during hard conversations, our defensive nature kicks in and we start rejecting what the other person's saying. Where, watch this, we're listening to respond rather than listening to understand. So while the person's talking, you're mounting this defense up in your mind and you're going through this whole process. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Ooh, I'm going to remember this. And you start getting in your head, you game planning, but you're really not paying attention to what the person's saying. Because why? Most people listen to respond. They don't listen to understand. Where there's trust, watch this, I allow you to speak hard things into my life. If I don't trust you, I get defensive immediately when you start talking about it. But when I know the person loves me, I love them, and there's trust, you're able to have these difficult conversations. Because why? The goal is to fix the problem, not to see who wins the argument. And we're going to do a whole session on how to argue later on, sometime soon. The goal is to fix the problem. The goal is not an ego battle where we go back and forth. You didn't get married to go back and forth, tit for tat, and do all that stuff. We got to be mature enough to have difficult conversations. Say things like, before we get ready to have a hard one-on-one conversation, I need to talk to your head and not to your heart. Can we talk about something that will be difficult and hear the person out and you let yourself be heard? Understand that some people are going to feel some type of way, but if we choose to honor the other person, we'll hear them out, listen to them, and figure out where can we meet up at? Where can I make some adjustments, or where can this person make some adjustments? A relationship that refuses to have hard conversations is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. You have to be able to talk about it. If not, it's going to fester, and eventually it's going to rise up, and it's going to come up in the most inopportune times, and a blow up is going to happen. Because why? You're holding on to resentment. You have to have hard conversations, and we'll talk more about that sometime in the future. The next thing, whatever you say is going to help you with some hard conversations. Whatever you say has to hold up under cross-examination. Whatever you say has to hold up under cross-examination. So you jump out and say something. You have to be prepared for your spouse to ask questions or challenge what you say. And if you get mad with the cross-examination, it probably means you don't have a good reason. You don't know how to explain it. You didn't think through your argument, or our pride is at a place where we feel like we're beyond being challenged. You just have to accept what I have to say. But thinking people ask questions. Thinking people ask questions. We only get mad at questions when we can't answer what's been asked. We only get mad when we cannot answer questions that have been asked. Whatever you throw out there, thinking people are going to ask questions. If what you say can't hold up under cross-examination, don't put it out there. Because people have a right to challenge what we say, question what we say. It's got to hold up in the court term, cross-examination. We got to talk about this point, right? And once you bring it up, it's out there. And you got to be okay with the person bringing in different perspectives. And watch this, be open enough to understand that we don't know it all and we need an outside perspective. Last thing, and we'll be done for the night because I don't have time to finish this whole thing tonight. Give your spouse the ability to lovingly correct you. Ooh, I feel some hardship right there. Give your spouse the ability to lovingly correct you. Oh man, I feel some tension going on right now, just in that moment. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Eat it and make the change. Let me help you with something. An apology without an excuse goes a long way. If you messed up, just own it. I messed up and I'm sorry. No excuse. Because why? The excuse doesn't change what happened. If you shot me in the foot and you gave me an excuse, my foot would still be shot. I'd still be in pain and it'd still be bleeding. Sometimes the best thing you can ever do is just say, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right and I'm wrong. But here's the thing. Sometimes our ego won't allow us to apologize or admit that we're wrong. If you know someone who struggles to apologize, what they're basically telling you is they don't feel like you're worthy of or deserving of their apology. They're actually telling you the place you have in their eyes, where you're not worth the apology, nor are you worthy of it. Lord have mercy. Apologies, again, where there's trust, ego's out the way. Where there's trust, you start minimizing your ego. Because why? I allow the correction to come. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Proper correction and acceptance of the correction can actually bring the relationship closer. Proper correction and the acceptance of that correction will bring the relationship closer. So when you're coming to correct your spouse or you come lovingly, not like their parent, but you come lovingly. Try to remove those words that are constants, like you're always doing, you never. Because as soon as you say always and never, a defense mechanism goes up in the person's mind. All right. You come lovingly. I love you. You love me. But we got to have this conversation, the other day, or this happened, and ... And watch your tone, too, because you can get your point across without being upset. Telling somebody off is not a badge of honor, y'all. We think it's I told them. But watch this. If you told them off and losing the person, guess what? You're losing. You're losing. Both of you have to give each other the space to allow correction when it's necessary. Because here's the thing. Do you want, when you're wrong, because I don't believe in apologizing when you're not wrong. You foster bad behavior and bad stuff when you always apologizing for stuff that you didn't do. I don't believe in that foolishness. You foster an entitlement and childish type behavior. But when you show enough wrong, just say I messed up. And you'll watch the relationship come closer together when you guys lovingly look to heal. I'll close with this. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 24 talks about kind words bringing healing. Proverbs 16:24 talks about kind words bringing healing. He says in Proverbs 16:24, he says, pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to bones. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb. They're sweet to the soul and health to bones. My job is to bring sweetness, pleasant words, health, life out of my mouth to my spouse. Got to have these difficult conversations. We can do them with love, do them with maturity, and watch our relationships get stronger rather than weaker. If you messed up, own it up. Allow that space to correct each other, to have difficult conversations so that we can move on and have a happier and better marriage. Hope you guys enjoyed this lesson today. I didn't get a chance to finish it. Got more scriptures that we can go through. Maybe later on we can do something on it. Just so glad you guys can join me. Hope you learned something. Drop some comments in the comment section and share this with another married couple, engaged couple. See what they feel about it. We would love to converse with you all. And we just say God bless you. We love you. And we keep praying that God will